Hey everybody, welcome to another Crack-A-Pack Tuesday on the Mana Leak. I'm John as always, and we've got another pack of Dragons of Tarkir here. So we're going to crack this open, talk about all the cards, and see what I would pick. Pack one, pick one. Well, first up, we've got Impact Tremors. Impact Tremors is 1 and a red for an enchantment. It says whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, Impact Tremors deals 1 damage to each opponent. Kinda cute, not terribly competitive. What this ideally wants to be in, of course, is a dash deck. You want to dash in a creature, get an extra damage, and hopefully swing with that creature as well. I could see it being kinda cool. But just not competitive, unfortunately. Maybe in a wacky draft someday I'll try it out, but it's not going to be first pickable at all. Next up, we have Glaring Aegis. This is a single white for an enchantment aura. It says enchant creature. When Glaring Aegis enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls. Enchanted creature gets +1/+3. So it's a little bit of a boost for your creature, more on the toughness side, which isn't generally the best, but you do get to tap down a creature, which is really good for aggro. I haven't tried this card yet, but I've seen a lot of people playing with it, and I know LSV was very high in this card as well. I need to get some play with it to see if it actually is good or not. It has all the hallmarks of things that aren't good, but that tap a creature is, possibly the saving grace of this card, I think. Maybe also the fact that it's a single white, I'm not sure. But I need to get some practice with this card to really know, but definitely not first pickable anyways. Next up we have Pinion Feast. This is a 4 and a green instant. Destroy target creature with flying, bolster 2. There are a lot of flyers in Dragons of Tarkir. Flyer removal is potentially main deckable. Normally in most sets this would be, instant D sideboard card only, never main deck this. It could be main deckable here. I prefer something cheaper like Return to the Earth. You don't get the bolster, but oh well. But yeah, this still could be main deckable, potentially. Not first pickable though. Next up we have Palace Familiar. This is a 1 and a blue for a 1/1 flyer that says when Palace Familiar dies, draw a card. This guy's pretty good in the exploit deck. He is one of the best exploit targets at common anyways. There's Youthful Scholar, who is incredible. But this guy's pretty decent. You don't want to take this for your blue-white flyers deck. You don't want to take this for your heavy aggro deck. You want to take this if you're in exploit. And you're not going to be first picking this, of course, and going exploit. Next up we have Guardian Shieldbearer. This is a 1 and a green for a 2/1. It has Megamorph, so you can pay 3, put it face down as a 2/2, and you can flip it up for 3 and a green, giving it a +1/+1 counter, making it a 3/2. It also says when Guardian Shieldbearer is turned face up, put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature you control. So this guy gets his Megamorph counter, and somebody else gets a counter too, which is not too bad, especially for 4 mana. A 4 mana 3/2 that helps somebody else out as well, and it's not bolster, it's target, which is pretty nice. Is pretty okay. This isn't first pickable, but this is a totally solid green filler card. Next up is Sgts Rage. This is a 4 and a red instant. It says Sgts Rage deals 5 damage to target creature or player. If you control no dragon, Sgts Rage deals 2 damage to you. The first draft at my store, there were a few new players in my pod, but this was a last pick card. I actually passed it last pick because I wasn't in red at all, which is not where this card should go. This card is really, really, really good removal. The 2 damage doesn't matter. Don't even care about that. And don't jam garbage dragons into your deck to try to avoid that 2 damage. This is just a 5 mana, 5 damage instant burn spell, and that's quite good. I could see myself first picking this in a weak pack. Maybe this pack, we'll see, but hopefully not. Next up is Vial of Dragonfire. This is a 2 colorless artifact. So you pay 2, it comes in the battlefield. Does nothing. At any point in time then on, you can pay 2, tap it, and sacrifice it to have Vial of Dragonfire deal 2 damage to target creature. This is okay. It's not great. There's been better artifacts like this. Blazing Torch, for example, was fairly okay in Innistrad, at least. I never played with it in Zendikar. But this is a little bit worse than that. It's better than Goblin Boomkeg, of course. It's removal for morphs that your opponent 100% knows you have, unless, of course, you're on 4 mana and you play this and instantly use it, which is also not the worst, but you don't want to be really intentionally taking this card. But if you need a 23rd card, this is here if you need it. Not first pickable, though. Next up is Butcher's Glee. I love this card. I think I was a little bit down on it in the set review, but boy, do I love this card. +3/+0 to target creature for 3 mana at instant speed, plus lifelink, plus you regenerate it. The regeneration really makes this really awesome. +3 with lifelink, plus whatever power the creature already has is just really nice. I don't think I would ever want to first pick this. I don't like first picking combat tricks. I prefer to pick a creature or a removal spell. That being said, this often is used as a removal spell. Still, I don't think it'd be first pickable, but it is relatively highly pickable for me, and it probably goes in every black deck I play, except maybe the most of controlling decks. Next up, we have Tie Interceptor. This is a 3 and a blue, 3/1 flyer. You can Megamorph it, and then unmorph it also for 3 and a blue. And that's it. It just gets the +1/+1 counter. So it's a 4 mana 3/1 flyer, or it's a 3 mana 2/2 and then a 4 mana 4/2 flyer, which is totally fine. You know, it's has no other abilities. It has nothing really special going on about it, but a 4/2 flyer for 4 is totally fine. You know, it's not first pickable, but it's totally includable in a lot of blue decks. All right, into the uncommons. We've got an uncommon dragon here. Swift War Kite, 4 black-red for a 4/4 flyer. Says when Swift War Kite enters the battlefield, you may put a creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard, from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield. That creature gains haste. Return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. So this is really interesting. You get to either cheat a creature in from your hand, although this is a 6-drop. I don't know, what 3-drop is going to be that amazing cheated out of your hand on, turn 6 or 7 or whenever this actually comes down. Much more likely, this is going to be a reanimation spell to get a creature back from your graveyard. Get it on, basically give it dash, and it's going to come back to your hand at the end of the turn. This is pretty okay. I think in the set review I talked about this. On turn 7, on turn 8, bringing back a 3-drop probably isn't going to be the best. It's probably not going to be, just game ending that you got that 3-drop back. But it's going to be that much extra damage. It's going to be another pseudo threat in your hand on the next turn. It's going to do some stuff. Plus you're left with a 4/4 flyer, which is, fairly okay. That being said, I'm not a big fan of the uncommon multicolored dragons. I don't think any of them are that great, and I think this is the best of them. I would never first pick them ever, because I wouldn't want to commit to 2 colors, especially off of what I consider to be a relatively mediocre creature. But I think if you're in black-red and this comes around to you, pick 5, pick 6 in pack 2, I would take it for sure, and probably play it, I think. But yeah, just kind of all right, as I really kind of think of most of the uncommon dragons in this set. Next up, we have Lightning Berserker. I believe this is making waves in Constructed, or people predict it to make waves in Constructed. And that's interesting. A lot of people will say, oh man, this card's so good in Constructed, I need to take it first pick in Draft. Limited's a very different format than Constructed, and Lightning Berserker here is a good example of that. It's a 1/1 for 1 red. You can pay 1 red to give it +1/+0 until end of turn, so fire breathing. And you can dash it if you want, also for 1 red. In Limited, you don't want to be going all in on one creature most of the time, unless we're back in Theros, in which case, yeah, that was a weird format, kind of a boring format also. But yeah, you don't want to be just pumping a ton of mana into this creature that doesn't have evasion, doesn't have any way of protecting itself from any sort of removal. Even a single ping of damage kills this thing. And yeah, so it just doesn't work out well at all in Limited. This wants to be at home in a, red deck in Constructed that kind of tops out at 3 mana creatures and wins really quickly, and that's just not really doable in Limited. So I don't think this guy's first pickable. I don't think this guy's really playable in Limited at all, so not my first pick at all. All right, next up we've got another uncommon dragon. We've got Acid Spewer Dragon. This is the black uncommon dragon, so it's a 3/3 flyer for 6, 5 and a black. It's got flying, it's got death touch, you can megamorph it, and you can unmorph it for 5 black. So for 7, you can make this into a 4/4 flyer death touch. As well, when it turns up, you can give every other dragon you have a +1/+1 counter. Now, I've talked about this in the set review. I actually heard Limited Resources talk about this. It seems to be kind of the, kind of what people expect, is that you're not going to have more than one dragon in your deck, and you can't necessarily even expect to have one dragon in your deck in this format, just because a lot of them just aren't that good at all. Plus, they're all at uncommon, or the good ones are at rare or mythic. And so, this second ability doesn't matter. You're so rarely ever going to get counters on other dragons with this that you should never value this card based on that little line of text. So as it is, we're looking at a 3/3 flyer death touch for 6, or a 4/4 flyer death touch for 7. And that's expensive. The fact that you can put it down on turn 3 is nice. It's going to be a target. There's a lot of 2 damage spells out there. I love killing morphs personally, because I know they're bigger than 2/2s. I might let a manifest get through, but not a morph usually. And so, yeah, I'm not a big fan of these guys. I did play with this at the pre-release, and it was okay, but there were definitely probably equal times that this was just stuck in my hand, or stuck on the battlefield as a morph because I didn't get to that level of mana. And so I don't really like these uncommon dragons, the monocolored ones at all. The multicolored ones are okay-ish. But yeah, I would not be first picking this. I don't think ever. I'd be picking it really, really late in pack 2 if I was black, and even then maybe not playing it. All right, so here's our rare. Our rare is Pitiless Hordes. It is a 2 and a black 5/3 that says at the beginning of your upkeep you lose 2 life. So it's a 5/3 for 3. It has to have a drawback. That drawback is you're going to lose 2 life each turn. But you can get around that drawback because it has dash 2 black. That means this creature, if you dash it out, is never going to be on your battlefield at the beginning of your upkeep. So you're not going to lose that 2 life. I love this card. I played with this in the pre-release. It is really, really, really good. Being able to swing in for 5 on turn 4 is incredible. That 2 life loss, if you hard casted it, does not matter. If you're just surprising your opponent, they didn't hit anything on turn 3, and you dash this guy and swing in for a quarter of their life total, it's really, 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 really good. I can't say much more about this card. It's a big creature for really low mana. Fantastic card. Beyond that, we've got a foil. I thought I saw a foil back there. It's a common, though. It's a single green for Servant of the Scale. It's a 0/0, but when it enters the battlefield, of course, it has a +1/+1 counter on it, so it's a 1/1 for 1. And then it says, when Servant of the Scale dies, put X +1/+1 counters on target creature you control, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on Servant of the Scale. Presumably 1, unless you've been bolstering or something like that. This just requires too much setup to get any sort of value out of it. The vast majority of the time, it's going to be a 1/1 for 1, which is completely unplayable. It's going to slightly help out another creature when it dies, which gives it a slightly better rating for me, but ultimately this is a really late pick and a pretty easy cut if I need to make one. And a swamp. So this pack is pretty easy, I think. The choices are between Sgts Rage and Pitiless Horde. And as good as removal is, as good as Sgts Rage is, I've got to go with Pitiless Horde. This card is just bonkers. 5 damage on turn 4 is so good. I would be taking this card, snap picking it. I would take a tiny glance at Sgts Rage and then immediately go for this card here. And if I was marrying myself to this first pick, which you generally shouldn't do, of course, I would be looking to go into the dash deck or into some sort of black-red aggro or black whatever aggro, but some sort of aggressive deck is what I would want with this. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that. Definitely let me know in the comments what you would have picked if you would have taken the Pitiless Horde, the Sgts Rage, or something else. Let me know below. You can also let me know on Twitter. at the Mana Leak, that's L-E-E-K, like the vegetable, not the card, or on Facebook at facebook.com/the Mana Leak. You've already found me here on YouTube. If you like the videos, make sure you click that little thumbs up icon, and you should also subscribe to the channel. There's the little subscribe button underneath the video, and there's also one in the outro. That will keep you up to date on all the latest videos as they get posted, Crack-a-Pack Tuesdays, Wacky Wednesdays, Spiky Saturdays, and any other special videos that pop up here or there. You might have seen one yesterday, in fact. But yeah, if you enjoyed these, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you all next time.